Welcome back, MTG Joe here. I'm back from surgery. I'm gonna keep this quick and short. Still a little bit of out of breath recovering, but there's a standard metagame challenge tomorrow. Recording this on Thursday. Metagame challenge comes out on Friday, and I wanted to cover some of the deck options that folks can take in. It's the first metagame challenge we've had in a while. It is basically 2,000 gold to enter. If you get 7 wins before you get a loss, in best of 3 standard, you win 30 packs of standard legal sets. It's a really fun thing, really kind of competitive. I wish they did these like every week, every month. It's just kind of cool. There's also going to be a timeless one the first week of February, so we'll also look at it like that. So normally on this channel, we do metagame breakdowns where we look at like untapped GG stats, tournament results, MTGO results. We do deep dives, explain everything. As you could probably tell from my voice, I'm a little bit struggling to go in depth, so I'm going to do it a little bit quicker. Going to cover high level some of the decks, and then we'll paste timestamp everything. Link is for Untapped is in the video description. I'll paste the deck list in there as well. I apologize. I just rather get some content out than none to help people out. I know some folks are going to be looking for deck ideas, so we're looking at Untapped in terms of popularity. You should expect like Esper Midrange. There's a couple different versions. Some of the Dimir aggro decks are basically just like flyers with kicks. Mono Red Aggro, 4-color domain. We've seen an increase in Golgari recently. There's a couple different variations of Rakdos as well that you should anticipate in addition to the format. In terms of just like we see pretty big jump in the Golgari deck that kind of then normalized, but we're seeing Esper coming back. Esper was down to 15%, it's up to 25%. So just keep that in mind when you're building your sideboards. These are general ideas just to kind of get you started. But 4-color domain is probably the best deck. I'm personally going to just run mono red because it's my favorite deck and I'm good with it. But this domain list, with the addition of Cavern of Souls that you see in the mana base, they've shifted to pretty much being green-white in the main board. You have a full up the beanstalks, you're just drawing a bunch of cards. The mirrors go pretty long in this. Nissa helps with the mirror just to blow up leyline binding, stuff like that. But we're seeing full 6 sweepers in here as well. Your sideboard, you got Lithomantic Barrage, which I think may warrant even a 3rd copy if Esper's picking up. Negates, Seed Sharks, the temporary lockdown. Jace is really good in the mirror. So you can kind of metagame. The knockout blow helps hedge against the mono red matchup as well as lockdown. And then the Jace the Perfected Mind will help in the mirror. So I know some folks have even started playing one of in the main. If you're predicting a lot of domain, that might be a reasonable choice to kind of go with that respect. From there, Esper Midrange is 66.1%. So this is more of a life gain variant of the deck. There's like the wedding announcement version with Lord Skitter, as well as White Virtue. There's a lot of different versions of the Esper Midrange. The kind of core of this one is got like a life gain synergy. You might see some with Gix as well. But Rune Lurker Bat is a lifelink evasive creature. Deep Cavern Bat, Denix, the Amalias get bigger, and whenever you gain life, Gumdrock Poisoner can be a removal spell and a creature. You have the Invasion of Amonkhet, which has a cool interaction with Alkazats that when it flips, if you have a copy of it, it just keeps coming back as Alkazats. Rafine's in here, Shieldred, so lots of ways to gain life, kind of just go over the top. This deck is a little bit more susceptible to like sweepers than some of the mid-range decks, but you do have this to steal like your opponent's Traxas, stuff like that. Sideboard's just got like a bunch of disruption, hand hate, graveyard hate, artifact enchantment hate. Nightclubber is a tech that a lot of the black decks are using against the Bant Toxic decks. Planeswalkers for some more stickier threats, kind of mixed into there. Interesting to see no Disdainful Stroke. Well, a little bit worse against like Attracts and stuff. It still hits the sweepers, which is reasonable. So kind of mixed into there. Then go to Mono Red Aggro, and there's a few different variations of the Mono Red deck as well. This one looked interesting. So a lot of them have shifted to Witchstalker Frenzy in the main. They're also seeing some copies of Obliterating Bolt. The more kind of these mid-range shells, whether it be Golgari, Rakdos, Esper, there's a lot of 4 toughness creatures. So the Obliterating Bolt plays nicely there. Lightning Strike's just not as effective. While it doesn't go face, the Obliterating Bolt could deal with Angels and stuff like that, even out of Domain. Fewer copies of Swiss Spears and Phoenix Chicks. This version is playing Norabrask Forge main, as well as Thundering Raiju. Similarly, Feldon tends to be better in best of 1 than best of 3, just given there's more white and black based removal in the format. Sideboard for like the Bant Toxic matchup, Barrages, just like a lot of removal. This comes in against the Domain matchup, steal their big things, and then Forge for the grindier matchups. Sorry, it's talking kind of takes a lot out of me. So Golgari Midrange. So this has had a bit of a resurgence. Preacher of the Schism is a card that's been seeing a bit more play in this deck. But just kind of a lot of different types of flexible removal, card advantage with Mosswood Dread Knight. Your Glissa's in here, Cruelty. A lot of the black decks are shifting to Cruelty to help for the ramp matchup to hedge against that. Nissa, Virtue on the top end. Compared to Rakdos, this has a little bit more game against the Leyline Binding, but Rakdos has like Carnosaur and Geological Appraiser for some free value. The creature line does better in this color pair. And then the sideboard's just really kind of tailoring your removal package. I have no clue why Zopaltra is in here. When we go to MTGO leagues, we'll kind of compare it to that. But this version here, I don't think this is... You don't want a 7-mana 4/6. I wouldn't play this. Just play more removal, Terra Sunder, stuff like that. Even just more Duress. Actually, you're still playing a full set of Duress. But Liliana's good against the Ramp Mirror, which is probably your worst. You have like Breaches, Tranquil Furlbacks, stuff of that nature. So just removal and kind of hand hate, stuff like that. We had the Pizza Box open this past weekend, so it's a community tournament. There's 128 players, over like 200 on waitlist. It was won by Blue Robot, another streamer, Bant Aggro. They went full 10-0, 7-0 in Swiss, and then won the top 8. So Bant Toxic has kind of come up. So you have Skrull, Scrawling Chorus, Venerated Raw Priest, Jawbone Duelist, and Annex Sentry, Skrull Tide. And then the Bant is giving you like March of Swirling Mist for protection, kind of combo kill with the Raw Priest, Charge of Mites for removal or more creatures, Fading Hope, Serum Snares like tempo bounce effects, Bring the End as counters, and Experimental Augury. So just a lot of ways to kind of proliferate on top. Sideboards just got like more creatures, counters, removal as appropriate for the matchup. So they had a pretty solid showing, all things. They clean sweeped 10-0. It was pretty impressive to do that. The Rakdos Midrange deck, Tom's won a few of these tournaments as well. Spoken to him a few times, but this version here, you're leveraging with the Rakdos kind of Discover deck, both the Geological Appraiser and Trumpeting Carnosaur for kind of cascade value. You could also just channel or like discard Carnosaur for removal, and then with Cruelty Gix reanimate it, and then get the free Discover value. Just Disruptive Elements, Bloodtide Harvester, Deep Cavern Bat, the Preacher, offense defense is nice. You got Gix for some card advantage as well as Aquazots. Then your sideboard's just a assortment of removal, hand hate, as well as like Breach for like the Domain matchup as well. So this deck's been picking up in popularity as well. You could see some pretty reasonable results. A bunch of 5/2s were put up in the tournament with this deck. We then have Dimir Tempo or Dimir Aggro. This is basically cheap flyers, Deep Cavern Bat, Fairy Mastermind, Spyglass Siren with Gix, Preacher of Schism, so kind of like a Tempo Flash, Schooner for some card advantage, a bunch of cheap removal, some counters, and then you're just offsetting it with counters in the sideboard, some Kaidos kind of mixed into there. Glistening Deluge, also good against the Bant Toxic deck, just for any of the kind of go wide strategies. So you'll see some versions of this. And then from a recent MTGO league, just want to kind of cover a couple decks here. So there's the Monastery Mentor Hadi Jin deck. So basically you're self-milling yourself with things like Picklock Prankster, Otherworldly Gaze, and then you're using Helping Hand or Recommission to cheaply reanimate these cards, and then kind of go from there. So it's like a blue-white tempo deck. You have counter spells, removal in the sideboard as well. There's also this 4-color Slogurk Legends deck. So you're using like Slogurk, Rona, Inti to kind of loot through your deck. Lands going into the graveyard, gain you life with Titania, makes your Slogurks bigger. Relic of Legends gains you a whole bunch of mana. There's like a convoluted infinite combo with like your lands where you can basically keep bouncing your lands and then discarding them and generating mana and like bounce your entire opponent's board. Don't fully understand it, and I'm not in the right headspace too, but a lot of times you can just beat down with big Slogurks and stuff like that. Goose Mother in here is kind of cool. So you have like the relic decks there. I don't know what Kura the Boundless guy is. Die, search your library for 3 lands, reveal them, put them to your hand, then shuffle, create an XX Spirit, where X is the number of lands you control. So just for the grindier matchups, kind of value play. Jace helps mill like the ramp decks, Deluges, Breaches in there as well. So there's a couple different versions of that deck. There's like this version as well of the Golgari deck. This version looks a little bit cleaner in terms of the sideboard, so I'd probably recommend going with this one here. I'm going to copy this one instead of the Golgari version from Untapped. I think this one looks a little bit cleaner. There's like blue-white control if you're interested. These are like recent 5.0s. But I'll link this and you can take a look and kind of go from there. So that's it. Let me know in the comments what you do well with. If I'm up to it, I might stream a run. Maybe not be as talkative, but I'll be back with like meta breakdowns for like once Karlov comes out, and then kind of go from there. I'm taking it day by day. But even this was like 12 minutes and I'm trying to catch my breath. But hope this helps you out. If you do get 7 wins, drop your deck list, help out the community, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.